Okay.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending the Wolfram Virtual Job Fair event. I would like to introduce you to Kayla. Kayla will tell you about her company, job openings, and how to apply for those openings. Kayla?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. I greatly appreciate it. I know there's a lot going on today, so thank you for taking time out of your day to come here for this. So I am the recruiter here at Wolfram. I've been with the company about a year and a half. So our headquarter office is located in Champaign, Illinois. However, we are a global company. We have satellite offices and also established offices at a bunch of different places around the world, India, UK, Peru, Japan. And then on top of that, we have a lot of people who work for Wolfram in just a remote capacity in even more locations, whether that be Australia, China, different places in Europe, Russia, South America, Central America. So we have a pretty big reach, I guess, in the world in general. So as far as different things that we hire for and things like that, so Wolfram is a unique company in that everything that we do is in-house. So, our PR team's in-house, all of our design for all of our swag and things like that is done in-house. As far as what we typically hire for, everything from software engineering, web and mobile development. Then we also go into places like educational outreach, research and development, also, of course, sales, marketing, different things like that. So we kind of have a very broad range of positions that we typically hire for. For anybody who maybe isn't familiar with Wolfram or exactly what we do, which maybe I should have said this at the beginning. So Wolfram is a software company. We have 3 flagship products. First one is Wolfram Alpha. This is probably the one people are most have used the most and recognized the most. So Wolfram Alpha is very similar to Google, and that is a search engine, but it is unique in that instead of giving you thousands of results, it will just give you one answer. And if a lot of college students use it for kind of bigger problems and things like that. And it'll show you kind of how everything works out and things. So really big in academia as far as that goes. Then we also have Mathematica, which is our notebook system. And then all of those are run on Wolfram language. So our founder, Stephen Wolfram, is from the UK. He did teach at the U of I for a while, and he founded Wolfram a little over 30 years ago, I believe. So yeah, and we've been based in the Champaign area since then. So very exciting. As far as our open positions and how you can apply, so if you go to our careers page, we do have them all listed there. I try to keep it as updated as possible. We'll have everything from full-time permanent positions, temporary positions, internships, sometimes part-time positions, different things like that. And you can find all those through our careers page. Typically how our process goes is after you apply, after you submit an application, I should say, we will review your information. And if there is a fit, then we reach out at that time. I see I got a question. Are there any jobs in the Chicago area? So while we don't have an office in the Chicago area necessarily, we do have we are working remotely right now, and we do have some positions that can still be remote even after the pandemic. So that would definitely always be an option as well. So even though we don't have that office in Chicago, if you'd be willing to work remotely for certain positions, then that is definitely doable. And it looks like next question real quick. Does Wolfram have any entry-level jobs for university students, for example? So yeah, that's really great. We do typically have some more entry-level jobs. We do hire a lot of new grads in addition to having internship programs. So we typically do our internships on a semester by semester basis. And with those internships, while it's not something that we guarantee can always go full-time permanent, we do have a lot of internships that do end up going full-time permanent, or people get into our company through an internship and then find a different position that might be full-time permanent that they're a good fit for, and kind of go from there. We do really like to hire from within, and especially people who already have experience with their company and kind of our culture and stuff like that. And then I see there's one more. IT help desk, service desk role. I don't think we have any of those open at the moment, but so another cool thing with our careers page, we do have the option to submit just a general application. So we have two different ones. We have one for kind of just regular careers, and then we also have another one that's more internship based. So with those applications, they're not necessarily for a specific position. They are just more for, if there's not something on our careers page that you're interested in, or maybe you don't really know where you fit, you can apply through there. We do try to screen those and go through those and see if maybe there's any positions that we have open that you could be a fit for. So it is a good way to still submit your application to us to have on file. And then in addition to that, have it on file for potential jobs that come into the pipeline later on. In addition to all of these, and I'll just throw this in here really quick, we do have a couple programs that people do that are a little unrelated as far as careers, I guess. So we have Wolfram Summer School, and this past winter, actually, we had Wolfram Physics School. So those are kind of more research oriented or project oriented programs that we have for people to work directly with Stephen on projects that include Wolfram technology. So if maybe you're not really sure, maybe you took like a year off college, or not really sure how you feel about Wolfram yet, it is kind of a nice way to kind of get your feet wet and also kind of work with people who are already in the company, and you get to work with Stephen, which can always leave a pretty good impression. And then I have a question. Do you work with applicants who want to transition into another career? Yeah, so I think that Wolfram is really great and unique in that sometimes we do have people who come from really unique or different backgrounds. And so it does create a lot of opportunity. We have people in some positions who only have, a high school diploma, but they, are really into computer hardware, and it's always kind of been a hobby of theirs. So they already have this, kind of built up knowledge kind of based on their own just personal interest in it, and not necessarily maybe on paper have that, appropriate education level that other companies sometimes really look for. So it is kind of, I would say, depending on the position, transitioning from one career to the next. I mean, we're always trying to be really supportive of everybody kind of trying to find their right fit. And then it looks like next question, what does Wolfram look like, or what does Wolfram look for in an ideal candidate? So I would say that definitely depends a lot on the position, of course, but in just a kind of general view, I think that most people that do well at Wolfram are people who are continuous learners, people who aren't afraid to ask questions, and definitely people that want to learn and really expand their skill set. I think in most, if not all of the positions that we have, there's usually a lot of opportunity to work on a lot of different projects or different technology. I think Wolfram's also really encouraging as far as, maybe reaching out to different groups where you don't really know what exactly they're doing, but you're interested in it. We usually have a lot of people that are willing to be mentors or, give you an idea about what they're doing and if you might be interested in it. We have some interns. I have an intern right now that's in our global technical operations department, and he works on a lot of sysadmin tasks, but he recently started going to college and has a really big interest in web development. And we don't have a web development internship open right now, but he was able to talk to that group, and they did give him a couple projects to work on that his manager was also okay with. So he's still able to kind of get that experience in something he's interested in, but still also do the other internship that he's in. So we do try to be flexible with that. And we want people to kind of come in and have their full potential.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Kayla. And I just do want to encourage any of the folks who are still on the line. If you have any questions for Kayla, please feel free to enter those in the chat and we'll get those answered for you. Kayla, real quick, I don't know if you have the ability to do so, but can you enter into the chat for everyone the link to your employer career resources page that you referenced? I think that would probably be helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, there is that. I just put that in. Oh, I think I might have only sent that to one person. Hold on, let me try that again. There we go. I think that one should have went to everybody. So yeah, that is the list of our careers page. And I believe we do have everything on there. I will say we do just be careful in that career section or the career opportunities point. Any of the positions that have like Oxford, UK or Sweden, those are for those offices that are there. So unfortunately, US candidates are not eligible, but and then I have another question. How many rounds of interviews do you have? Honestly, that depends so much on the position. Every position will have a different interview schedule. So I essentially work with hiring managers for their positions to decide what they want their interview schedule to be. And then we do kind of try to go off that. And it does kind of vary based on the position. And sometimes whenever we get to that kind of end point. If we have a lot of candidates, sometimes we will kind of throw that tiebreaker last interview in there that maybe we weren't expecting to do the first time. And then somebody asked if I had a follow-up email. So I will send everybody in the whole chat. The alias I just sent, resumes@wolfram.com. If you email that, that will go to everybody in my recruiting department at Wolfram. So it's a really great way to just reach anybody that's in recruiting, and any questions you might have or about a specific position or anything, please feel free to direct them towards that. And I'm more than happy, or somebody else from the recruiting team is more than happy to try to answer you back as soon as possible. As far as Salesforce specific jobs, I don't really believe so. We do have a couple sales positions open right now. We have our commercial inside sales executive position. We have the home edition sales executive position, which that one will focus on our home edition Wolfram products specifically. And then we do have a business development representative position open in our government sales department. As well as a separate business development representative position for a different team. And then we also have a higher level sales position, the enterprise sales executive. And I would say, yeah, if you would still like to submit your resume, please go ahead. If there's something that, like I said, you don't feel like you're maybe quite a fit for that's on the careers page, you can definitely submit that open application. That's a really great way just for us to have your information on file. Next question is, do you need to be currently enrolled in classes to apply for an internship role at Wolfram? No, we don't really have any strict rules as far as if you are or not in school. Typically what we look for in interns are just the best people for the position, whether that means, they're have been in the workforce for a while, just graduated, are still in school. And we have interns who are sophomores in high school, all the way up to people that, are kind of in the middle of that career change and are just kind of doing it for experience. So as far as internships go, we don't really have any strict guidelines, I guess, as far as excluding anybody. So.
Fantastic. Thank you for all those responses, Kayla. And again, I just want to encourage you all, if you do have any additional questions, please feel free to enter those in the chat. We'll get those answered for you ASAP. In the meantime, I think we'll pivot to just some general questions that I have regarding the application process, Caleb.
Sure.
The first one is, how long does the hiring process typically take from the point of submitting an application, to actually being hired?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. So the timeline I typically like to give people is from the moment you apply to the moment we would extend a potential offer is 4 to 6 weeks. I'm saying that I have had it take shorter amounts of time, and I've definitely also had it take longer amounts of time. I do try to get everybody through the process as quickly as possible, but some teams, sometimes their calendars are a little crazy. So sometimes getting stuff scheduled can be a little bit of a hurdle, but typically about 4 to 6 weeks is the timeline we like to try to work with.
Fantastic. Thank you. And can you elaborate a little bit more on the options for working remotely? I know you kind of briefly touched upon it, but are all of the positions or a majority of the positions that you're offering able to be worked in a remote fashion?
Yeah, so that has actually been kind of a hot topic for even us just internally as well. So we have been, I mean, of course, our whole company, except for a couple essential employees, are all working in a remote capacity currently with the pandemic. And we don't have a date on when we'll be back into the office yet. While I have some positions that are open where we are hoping to find somebody who's in the Champaign area who can also transition into the office, we do have a couple other positions that we are okay with being remote. And I actually need to go through and do a couple updates since I've been kind of talking with managers about this a little bit more. But for the most part, if we can find the right candidate, even if they really want to work remote, it's usually something that we're okay working with if they're a solid find, I guess, as far as candidate goes. But I guess as far as kind of future remote options and what it will look like post-pandemic, I think we're all still a little unsure exactly what that will be.
Okay, fantastic. And can you elaborate just a little bit more in a basic me fashion, kind of what your shifts are? When does a shift typically start? How does that process look?
Yeah, so I would say this does depend a little bit on the position. We have some positions where it is kind of a more strict 8 to 5 or somewhere in there, like our customer support representative position, for example. For that position, we kind of have more strict hours as far as when they're taking calls and helping people. So they do have to kind of adhere to that schedule. But otherwise, for most of our other positions, you do have some flexibility there. I think that's kind of maybe a really nice thing about Wolfram. If you're really a morning person, we have some people who start at 7 a.m. and will end at 3:30, or we have a couple other people that just don't do well in the morning. So sometimes they won't start until 10 o'clock and then we'll end, around 7 or something. A lot of it is just kind of what works best for your schedule, what's going to work best for the team that you're working with. So as far as kind of those working hours, there's a little bit of flexibility there for most of our positions.
Thank you so much for that, Kayla. And then another question that I had for you for the positions that do offer it, can you elaborate a little bit more on what some of the standard benefits are that might be offered? And then, kind of as a side note, perhaps maybe some of the fringe benefits that working for your organization might offer?
Yeah, definitely. So as far as our benefits package goes, we offer full medical, dental, and vision. Our health insurance is through Health Alliance. And what else is that? So we also have 18 PTO days per year, 9 paid holidays, short and long-term disability should you ever need to use it. We have an employee assistance program, FSA as well. We do offer tuition reimbursements, but it is more so if it's more for a singular class and not necessarily for a whole semester of classes. So if there was a position, or if there was a class that you wanted to take that would help your position in Wolfram, Wolfram will pay for half of that class for you. What else for benefits? We also have 401k plan. Wolfram does match up to a certain point. I think that about covers our benefits. We also have a what we call Spiky Perks card, and we do update that kind of occasionally. So with the Spiky Perks card, it just offers you different discounts around town. We have a couple different people at the company that work with different organizations to organize those discounts. So it's everything from gyms to restaurants, and I think we even had like cheaper fencing lessons on there at one point. So think that about. Oh, and we also have a life insurance policy. I think that is essentially most if not all of our benefits.
Great. Thank you, Caleb. And it does look like we did get another question in the chat. This individual asks, what do you like most about working at Wolfram?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I would say a couple different things. I think the first thing being is just the people in general. I mean, like I mentioned before, Wolfram is a global company, so it's been a really awesome experience to talk with people halfway across the world. This morning, I had a meeting with somebody in Turkey, and then somebody else who's based in the UK, and somebody else who's based in Germany. So it was just it's really fun to get to meet all these different people from all these different places. And not that we're in the office anymore, I guess, right now, but even in the office, there's just so many wonderful people that are still even based here that are just really unique and seem to have a lot to offer. And then I think also, which is what I mentioned before, Wolfram is pretty good usually about giving people that flexibility to perform their job the best way that they can. Before the pandemic, which seems a little silly to say now, but before the pandemic, we did have a little bit of flexibility as far as, people who were in the office, if you having something delivered to your house that day, or maybe just weren't feeling very hot, you could technically or typically, work remotely that day, giving people that flexibility to still work remotely if they need to, but also have the on-site experience was important to us, and I think gave everybody a lot more flexibility in their schedule, and saving your PTO so you can use it when you really need it and things like that. So.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kayla. And then just kind of delving more into how to actually get a position with your organization, can you kind of elaborate on how a candidate might stand out and get an interview, assuming they are qualified?
Yeah, definitely. So after you apply and everything, I mean, depending on the position, a big thing that I always look for is, of course, if somebody has experience with our technology. That's always something that I reach out about. But otherwise, people that stand out to me typically are people who've done research on the company. Who already know a little bit about us. That's always nice. We are bigger in the community, so it's nice when people recognize our name and are able to somewhat kind of talk to me a little bit about what they think that we do, or different stuff like that. But as far as actually sticking out, I mean, even just kind of going through and answering the questions in the application as honestly as you can, giving us an idea of what your future career goals are, what you want to do, just so we can kind of point you in that right direction. Another thing I think that Wolfram always really values that a lot of people don't tend to include on their resumes or applications is, things they do in their free time that might be applicable. That's something at career fairs and things like that. I always try to ask people, well, what do you do in your free time? What kind of projects do you work on that aren't academic related? I think a lot of people don't always think that some of their past experience or things that they do are applicable, when sometimes they really, really can be. Same thing with maybe people, I know some people who have worked in the service industry and they're kind of nervous to put that in their application or on their resume because they think it looks unprofessional or something like that. But I think that we have a lot of people who come from very unique positions and are now at Wolfram in completely different positions. So I think just kind of being honest and upfront and kind of talking about the full scope of what makes you a great candidate.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kayla. And it does look like we had a few more individuals join the session a little bit late. So I do want to encourage you, if you did just join the session, if you have any questions for Kayla regarding employment at Wolfram or any other kind of general inquiries that you might have, please feel free to enter those into the chat. We'll get those answered for you ASAP. Looks like we had a few more individuals that are going to be joining here momentarily. So another thing that I like to always ask on essentially all the job fairs that I host, Kayla, is what are the opportunities for advancement within your organization? And then are there any particular success stories that you might like to highlight?
Sure, that's a great question. So I guess just kind of in general, so Wolfram does do performance and salary reviews on a yearly basis. So essentially around the time of your work anniversary, you are given a performance and salary review. So even if you're maybe not getting a promotion or a title change, you should still see growth within your salary on a year-to-year basis, just based on your performance. So we do try to have that in place to encourage people. And then in addition to that, I mean, Wolfram is a private company, and although we have been around for 30-ish years, it still does kind of have that startup feel. So I think because of that, we do have some flexibility as far as we don't have a very typical corporate ladder. You know, it's not that you get into this position and the next step up is XYZ. Sometimes it can be specializing in something else also within that department that doesn't maybe necessarily make you a lead or a manager, but does kind of broaden your scope of what you actually do. So I think because of that, there's a lot of opportunity. And I mean, I guess notably, just kind of even bringing that up, we've had a couple different people who, we have one person right now, she runs our WebSys group. She started as an intern, and here she is 5 years later, and she's running her own department. And we've had a couple different people do that. We had somebody who started as an intern, and she ended up creating her own department and running it. So we're kind of, I guess, that company, if you can set your mind to it and are really passionate about it, you can usually make a lot of things happen from it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kayla. And it looks like we did get another question in the chat. If you want to take a look at that and perhaps.
Yeah. So the question is, are there any opportunities for someone in the customer support representative role to cross over into other more technical projects that are going on at the company? So I would say, as far as kind of getting into those other projects, it would depend a little bit on what they were. I don't know exactly what projects, specific projects go on in this customer support role. I can definitely say I've had a lot of people who have started in customer service, been there for a year or two, and then have moved on to more technical positions. I actually just had somebody, she started as a customer support representative, I think about a year, she started around me, so about a year and a half ago, and she has just transferred into a vastly more technical position, just kind of based on everything she was able to take on and learn. So I guess, although I don't maybe have any specific examples, I would say the opportunity would definitely be there to get into more technical aspects of that position and just other parts of the company in general.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kayla. And I just do want to make note for the folks that might have joined the webinar a little bit late. In the chat here, if you scroll up, you will see a direct link that Kayla provided to the career opportunities page and job openings. So if you want to take a look at that link at a later date, please feel free to do so. All the positions they have available should be listed there. Furthermore, if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see an email address where you can send your resume or just any general application inquiries to. So please feel free to use that as well. Kayla, at this time, we've got about 2 minutes or so before we'll have to wrap up the webinar. Is there anything else that you would like to include information-wise, perhaps something that maybe you didn't touch upon, or just something you'd like to elaborate on further before we end the session?
Oh man, is there anything else? I guess, I mean, if anybody has any questions about any of the positions that we have posted, please feel free to reach out to me. I do try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can. Oh, and we got one more question. For someone looking for a project manager role, what advice would you give? I guess as far as advice for a project manager role with our company, it kind of depends if you're looking for technical or non-technical. So we do have some technical roles and we do have some non-technical roles. I would say for most of our project managers, having Mathematica experience is kind of important. A lot of our project managers talk directly with Stephen, and he does like to see things in Mathematica notebooks, arguably. Makes sense. But yeah, I think having some experience with our technology really does set some project managers apart from other ones. So.
Fantastic, Kayla. And anything else that you would like to include before we end the session?
I do not think so. Please feel free to reach out if anybody has questions about anything. I do try to keep our careers page up to date, so keep checking back there and things like that as well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kayla, and thank you for all of those who joined the webinar here today. I just do want to make a final note. This webinar has been recorded and it will be added to the virtual job booth that you see up on the screen for Wolfram later today. Again, just thank you all for attending. We hope this was helpful. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the Wolfram team. Again, that email is in the chat if you want to use that to do so. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.